The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed during this or any broadcast belong solely to our guests or our hosts. These broadcasts do not represent or reflect the views of their employers, sponsors, or affiliated organizations.
Welcome to the Flipboard EDU podcast with your host, William Jeffrey, where we collaborate, communicate, and educate with the greatest educators in the world on Flipboard. Let's start the show.
Welcome back, Flipboard fam. This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey, and Josh Allen is the Technology Integration Specialist and unofficial Communication Specialist at Lewis Central ISD. He's a former president of the Nebraska Educational Technology Association, Nebraska's ISTE affiliate, and a former ISTE Making It Happen award winner. So you can't be surprised that he's an avid Flipboard user like myself and uses it in many unconventional ways, including teachers' professional development, school-to-community communication, and curating exceptional content to share with students and teachers. In this episode, we speak to my main man, Josh, about using Flipboard as an educator. We discuss how it allows him to share and curate useful content from across the web. We also speak about his family-oriented podcast, the Oreo Stuff Podcast. Lastly, we discuss how effective Flipboard is for educators during the pandemic. So like we always do about this time, let's collaborate, communicate, and educate with the best educators in the world right here on Flipboard EDU Podcast. Welcome back, Flipboard fam. This is your favorite coach, Coach Jeffrey, and I have another amazing guest tonight, my main man, Josh Allen. Welcome to the show.
Coach, it's a privilege to be here. I am very thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah. Josh, tell our listening audience a little bit about.
My main title is Technology Integration Specialist for Lewis Central Community Schools. It's a district of about 3,000 students that serves Council Bluffs, Iowa, and some of the rural area around there in southwest Iowa. Because it's a small school, I inherited the communications role as well. So I manage all the social media. First and foremost, I am a dad to five. Oh, man. No, I only got 4 kids. That's not breaking news on the Flipboard EDU podcast. 4 wonderful kids and a wonderful wife. Excited to be here.
Excellent, man. You, like myself, was an avid Flipboard user. And let's start there. Tell me what attracts you to Flipboard.
I think just the ease of use and the professional layout. Flipboard, honest to God, has been on my iPad ever since I got an iPad, and we're talking iPad 2 days. At that time, social bookmarking was a big thing, and that was fine, but sharing those really didn't look nice. It was just a list of stuff. And so for me, Flipboard was a more visually appealing way to share good resources that I had found. I used it as not just to get news, but for me, it was, I need to save that because, again, a lot of my role is teaching teachers. I want to be able to refer back to a good article that I found. And Flipboard for me has just always been a great way to present that to staff or to other audiences as well.
You said you have a role of the communications director. You do your school district social media and all that. And I had a chance to look at some of the stuff that you've done over the years. I've been a fan of yours over the years. When I started using Flipboard, you were one of the educators, you and John Rogers, who were using it well. How do you use it to communicate to other stakeholders outside of the school?
Coach, you and I have been around for a minute or so in education. And I don't know if your school district did this, but I remember the first school district that I worked in, they would get the newspaper every day and they'd cut out articles about kids and about things that are going on. They put them in a 3-ring binder. And for me, Flipboard has become that 3-ring binder, but it's a 3-ring binder that anybody can see. You don't have to go to the closet across from my office to see the 3-ring binder. It's just out there for the world. I actually just inspired by a Flipboard creator meetup online that they do. I just renamed ours. It used to be like Lewis Central Online, but it really, what I changed it to is inspiring excellence, because that's our school motto. That's our goal for kids, is we want them to be excellent, and that looks different for all of us. And there's not really a great finishing line, but we want to push our kids. It's called inspiring excellence. We take tweets, we take news articles, we take TV station videos, and we just put them in together in this Inspiring Excellence magazine. And then usually once a week, I'll reshare it to remind people. And I think we're close to 14,000 things that have been flipped in there over the last 8 or 9 years. I think it's coming up on 8 years now. And it's such a great place for people to just flip through and see what they missed. And what I love about it is it didn't have to make the newspaper, because we are a small fish in a big pond. We are part of the Omaha metropolitan area. So Council Bluffs sits on the east side of the Missouri River from Omaha. Omaha's got 800,000 people plus the suburbs. It's almost about the same size as Kansas City. Council Bluffs has a bigger school district than us. And so there's just a lot of news going on. And so if we can put all that together and package it, really easily, 2 clicks, and I got this fancy looking magazine, it just makes sense for us to be able to tell our story through that magazine.
Yeah, that's a magazine. Yeah, you get years worth of experience in there. And so also too, keeping up with that, it makes you look smarter than your counterparts, in my opinion.
Hey, I won't admit that. They do some things that are really good as well.
Yes.
But that's the thing. This story makes big district communication people cringe a little bit. But when I got there to Lewis Central 8 years ago, they didn't really have it. They had a Twitter account, but a parent had the password for it and would never respond to our inquiries about it. So I said, hey, my job is to be out in schools. You care if I do social media as the district? Like, yeah, sure, that's fine. No school board approval. No, you don't have your communications degree. I just did it. And I was consistent about it. And I was intentional. I didn't always go to the high school, right? We didn't always just go to the middle school. And we showed all of the great things, not just what our high ability kids do. We show all the great things that our special education kids do. And there's nothing that parents want to see more than kids, not just their own kids. We've got a post up on Facebook right now that is about a kid that is semi-finalist, I think, for National Merit Scholar. What more than his parents are excited about that? There's 5 or 6 comments on there. So it's again, social media goes so quick, whether it's Twitter or your algorithm isn't right in Facebook and Instagram. So let's package it. Let's put it in this nice little magazine. You can go flip through. You don't have to have an account for it. You can just go flip through it online and get a peek as to what our school district is really like.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you can aggregate all of those posts and then share it, and then you can come back and see it. I think it does a really good job. So, my man, how has COVID affected your role as a integration specialist?
It was one of those things. I've talked about creating videos for a long time. Coach, I know you have too. I listened to the guy you had on about video feedback, video. Yeah. We've talked about this for a long time. And you know what? I'm the same way. If I don't have to know something, might not put a whole lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
But for me, it showed how much our teachers really care about kids. And teachers were much more receptive into, remember, this is how we use Screencastify. This is how we use this. This is how all these other tools. We were very intentional about not adding something new if we didn't have to. We weren't going to jump into a new tool if there wasn't a big benefit to it. We've used Google Classroom since its inception. We're not going to go get another platform for our K-8 building. Now, it made sense at our high school because we could have some packaged curriculum to go with it. We're not going to, if you remember back to March of 2020, everybody had an educator discount now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody had this thing. I didn't share those with my staff. I shared Screencastify because we'd used it. I shared Loom because we'd used that. Only the ones that we had already been using. Hey, go use this. But our staff, they're phenomenal. They're great to work with. We have a preschool teacher who, I'm not sure she's counting down the years, but she's closer to the end than the beginning. And the videos that she would make for kids, that's why we're in this business. It's those teachers, and there's a lot of them, not just her, but it was just as hard as it was to see them come through and step up to the plate was pretty amazing. And it reaffirms a lot of the things that we had talked about. I've told you that creating videos is easy. now you know it because you actually had to do it.
Excellent. And so are you guys back face to face right now?
Yeah, we were back to face all last year as well.
Okay.
We did have a mask mandate through April or May, and the governor decided that we couldn't do that anymore, which we didn't have a lot of COVID cases after that, which is fine. I like that it's an option to wear a mask. I love the fact that I can walk in a building wearing a mask and no one says anything about it. Kids don't seem to care. I've found that my kids go to a different district, and I found the same thing with them. There was a time in early September that I wasn't feeling nothing terrible, but I thought, I'm just going to wear my mask. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, we've been back as soon as we could, but yeah, this is year number 2 being back.
Excellent. And is your school district 1-to-1 on your devices with your students?
Yeah, every student has access to a Chromebook throughout the day, K-12 1-to-1. 6th through 12th grade, you are able to take them home. K through 5, they charge them at school during the day. One of the things that's afforded us, now that we see that we can do remote learning, is maybe we can do some of these snow days remotely. It's in the Midwest, we get anywhere from 1 to 1 year. I think we had 9 snow days. That gets a little old. Like the first 2 are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like nothing like a surprise day off.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point, it's like, all right, in Iowa, you can't start school until the Monday before Labor Day or something like that. So that means June is when we're getting out. Once February hits and you're on your like 4th or 5th snow day, you're like, man, you're cutting into my summer now. So things like that give us some flexibility.
Excellent. In Texas, we don't have many snow days, but when we do, we definitely need them.
Yeah. No, it's funny because the farther north you go, the more they're like, it's not a big deal. Like we have they can invest in the machines to do that. We're Nebraska and Iowa, it's pretty borderline. You usually got to get to about 3 inches of snow, and then not like a dusting like you guys down in Texas.
Oh yeah, you get it. Hey, if we see a snowflake, hey, hold on now.
No, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, that's how it is. Well, we also, on the flip side, we do have hurricanes and tornadoes down where we're at. We're like close to the Gulf. So using Flipboard, how do you use it with teachers? Or do you use it with teachers or administrators, or is it just strictly like for PR purpose for you?
I do use it for instructional purposes as well. I'm an adjunct professor also, and I teach courses on Google Chrome. Essentially, it's Google Chrome and using the iPad in your classroom. And so that's 2 of my main magazines that I have under my personal account. And it's just a way to share what's new, what's that, especially the Google one. We really don't have a whole lot of iPads in our district anymore. We've gone to touchscreen Chromebooks for the younger kids. And, there's a lot of, in our Google ecosystem, there's a lot of things that work well with Chromebooks. And so that's the main one that I'll share with staff. Or again, for me, sometimes it's really just going back to that article I saw a week ago and being able to grab that article out and sending it to staff. I did a blended learning one for a while. That's not as I don't know, as big of a term as what it used to be. It's a little bit more integrated now, I think. And COVID has really changed what that blended learning means. But so those are the main ones that I'll use with our teachers.
Excellent. And have you been able to flip anything non-traditional in a Flipboard magazine that you might want to share?
My favorite one is called Comfort Over Calories. I realize that in this venue that we're in, you can see my head and not my gut, but I enjoy a meal, and I enjoy a meal that has calories. So I have one that I semi-contribute to is one that is just recipes that I think sound good. Like I said, they're better eaters than I am. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, my wife is way better than I am. And so there's somewhere in between, but I keep that. Another one that I did, I think this stemmed from a Flipboard chat one time. This guy and I were just talking about collaborating. I can't even remember his name. I don't really know who he is. And so we started one called One Night Only, and it's live performances. So sometimes I'll go down a rabbit hole of YouTube just looking up different live performances. And so it's my eclectic music. I don't make any intention to accommodate other music that I don't like. Yeah, exactly. It's not for you. It's for me. Okay.
You gotta share it out, but it's my music.
Give me some clips or give me some flips on it. But another great one, I was at a conference one time and met this guy who was also presenting. He was the keynote. I was a featured speaker. We were in the same hotel, and neither one of us really knew each other. We ended up going to a baseball game, and Clay Reisler is his name. And we were just talking. We're like, we should do a Flipboard magazine together. I'm like, what are we going to do? Well, we're sitting at this baseball game, and this baseball stadium is pretty cool. We should do a Flipboard magazine of baseball stadiums. Well, why just baseball? So him and I have one called Home Field, and it's stadium pictures. So it'll ebb and flow with the seasons. There's a lot of baseball in there right now. I've tried to add some more football, and we don't update that one a lot, but that one is pretty cool to look through and just see how different parts of the country are decorating and just different stadium.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. When I go on trips, I like to drive by a stadium or visit a stadium if I can. So are you a photographer as well?
Very amateur. I really try, especially with this pseudo communications role. I'm not like a nerd about it. I love my iPhone. Mm-hmm. My wife gets annoyed that I buy the nicest iPhone because I want the camera, and I say, honey, I am making your children look fantastic. So this is why I do it. And she usually rolls her eyes and just says, what? So I try, but I'm not great.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked is because I was moseying along on your page, just looking at your Twitter feed, and I saw that you had a link to your Instagram, and you have some really nice pictures on your Instagram, and just some stadiums of what you talked about. Yeah. I'm also going to ask you about the Oreo podcast in just a second, the Oreo stuff. And then, but I noticed that you took pictures of like birds and stadiums. So you did that with your iPhone?
Probably most of them are. Yeah, I do have a Canon 80D at work that I'll use sometimes. It just depends, but I do love my iPhone for a lot of things. My secret is that I use Adobe Lightroom also. Oh. And I don't use it a ton, but I do like the presets in there for certain pictures. So I at least usually run them through. I like Lightroom. So ironically, I like the built-in camera on the iPhone, but I don't like the Photos editor as much as I like Lightroom. I like the Lightroom presets I like better. So I can't tell you about ISO and frame rate. I don't get it.
Yeah. F-stops and all of that. Yeah. I
got smart friends that I call. What do I need to buy? How much is it going to cost me?
Yes. And can it help me look decently?
Right. How can I make myself look better than what I am?
So, I am going to steal your idea on the Lightroom thing, because I really don't get all the f-stops and the aperture and all of that. I'd rather just learn about other things. So tell me about, you guys have a podcast. Tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, I was laughing when we first started talking. You and I started talking about doing this. I'm like, I got a lot of formers in my title, and like it's got that point that the family has taken over a lot of things in my life. But I did a podcast called Dads and Ed for a long time with a couple of friends of mine, and that kind of ran its course. We did that for 6 years.
Yeah, wow.
And back before, I think we were pre-Serial, so I think Serial kind of thought, hey, if those guys can do it, let's do our own podcast. It'll be better than that. But then my kids, it started as a little bit of a joke, like a summer writing assignment. Like, I want you guys to figure out something to write about. Let's make a podcast about it. And I actually proposed Pop-Tarts because it's, what's something that has some variety to it. And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. My wife goes, none of you like Pop-Tarts except for Dad. And it's like, oh, well, that's not going to work then. So we did Oreos, and it's a great excuse to buy Oreos and tell your wife it's for research.
Yeah.
Exactly. The kids aren't eating cookies. They're researching for this podcast that we have. And so it was a lot of fun. We ran out of flavors, ironically enough, because we were doing so many for so long. I had a friend that pre-COVID would travel the world, and so we got some from Uganda. Oh, wow. Some berry flavored ones from Uganda. People would send us, the family would send some to us or pick some up for us. My dad would drop some off if he'd text me a picture of it, then buy them and drop them off. But it was just a great time with the kids. And actually the last podcast that's on, our youngest was finally old enough to sit in on the podcast. So that was fun to be able to include her too.
Excellent. So do you have any other podcasts in the works?
Not right now. That's two of the main ones. Podcasting for me goes back to a classroom teacher in 2004. My kids in the classroom would do our daily announcements, and we put that on iTunes. And I'm sure the Little Vista West Wolves daily announcements were just through the roof as far as analytics go. But it's just been, I love the medium. I ebb and flow as far as listening, but it's a fun, I really do enjoy that medium. But right now, the Oreo stuff is a little bit in hibernation until we can get a new one. I don't know what you call that. Not periodic. I don't know.
Yeah, periodic. Okay. Yeah. And we do that from time to time as podcast hosts. You go back to one. I started one, and I have to go back to it now too. So I get the feeling. Yeah. So you're such a talented technology integration specialist. What tools do you recommend for a teacher?
Right now, I'm on the Screencastify bus. What I love about Screencastify is step one is you can record your own video. Step two, you can edit that video in the browser. You can add titles. You can add like zoom in, zoom out to call people's attention to certain things. They have a feature called Submit, prompts kids to create videos. One of the things that I've said, really what got me into this technology integration role 13 years ago now, is I want kids to create. You can learn more from a 1-minute video of a kid talking than them taking a test. And so Screencastify has a thing called Submit, where you tell a kid what they're supposed to do as far as recording their screen or themselves. I've seen Spanish teachers that use it as a oral assessment. That Spanish teacher doesn't have to take up 3 days of class to go through every kid. She can listen to it during her plan or at night. But you get that instructional time back. That's one of my favorites right now that our teachers are using.
Excellent. And you said you guys use Google Chrome. Google has updated Google Classroom with some tools. What's your favorite Google Classroom tool?
Make a copy for every kid. I'll be honest. Like that just makes life so simple. We've done even down to first grade a couple of years ago. I literally set up a Google Classroom for one activity. The teacher wasn't using it, because they were still new down there. But we were doing I think it was a Halloween activity, or no, a turkey activity. And it made a copy for each kid. You don't have to deal with, all right, first grade, everybody find the file button, go to make a copy. Imagine doing that with the kids you work with, Coach.
Sir, let me tell you that I was a technology integration specialist at 4 elementary schools. Okay. And it's nothing like doing it with the kindergartners, and then they start crying. You know what I'm talking about.
I've been there. You know what? That's why we co-teach. Hey, classroom teacher, this young gentleman needs your assistance.
Yes. And you know what? It took a while. When I first got there, I didn't know the game. I just thought that the teacher would stay in the classroom, but they would leave. Go do whatever they had to do. And I was like, no, y'all can't leave. Y'all have to stay. So I learned that lesson, sir.
Our kindergarten teachers, I love them. They are amazing. And we were introducing Seesaw to them and doing some different activities. And we'd get done. They're like, you are just so good with these kids. I said, yes, for 45 minutes, I will give you everything I have, but I have an office with a door that shuts. And that's where I'm going. That's where I have myself scheduled. God bless them. You know what? I was an upper elementary teacher. Kindergarten, first grade, that's a different world, man.
Different world. And my heart goes out to every teacher that can get those kids ready, because they are not ready a lot of times when they come to school. So my heart goes out to those educators. They do a great job. Hey, man, tell our listening audience where we can find you at on social.
Twitter, I am a long time. I think I am coming up on 14 years on Twitter. J_Allen. For those of us that have an underscore, that's part of the underscore posse. A shout out to a few former educators, I think, at this point that we're on that. Instagram, Josh Allen 402 is my personal account, or my professional account. So those two are the places you'll find me the most.
Excellent. And I know that you're a Huskies fan, correct?
Huskers, my friend. Huskers.
Oh, my bad. Oh, I'm sorry.
Huskies, come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Listen, we're this close. We've been this close for 4 years.
Yeah, you always are close.
I finally believe we're this close now, but it's never going to be. People up here remember the 90s, and it's never going to be that. Back then, it was because we were on TV all the time. Everybody's on. Conference USA is on my Facebook, or no, Mountain West or something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody's on TV.
Everybody.
So it's never going to be the same. We want to compete in the Big Ten and not get ran over. And I do think Scott Frost is the right guy. And it's, I don't know. It's fun. I love the banter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good thing, man. I'm from Texas. There's plenty of good football down here everywhere we go. So,
but you're right. They don't have to go to Texas anymore.
They don't have to, not anymore. So
it's I listen, as much as SEC folks traffic, we would be just as bad if we had Twitter back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I've listened to the call-in shows. It'd be bad. Once those farmers figured out how to use Twitter.
Man, hey, Josh, thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you giving me this interview, sir. I would love to have you back. Anything that you're doing, you start up the Oreo Stuff podcast. I'd love to have you and the family on, and let's just talk about it and then share it at Flipboard. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach. I really do appreciate it.
All right, man.
And all the work you do with this podcast, they've been fabulous.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
You too.
Are you a teacher who wants to start a podcast? The Podcast Planner for Teachers is your go-to resource for planning and brainstorming. It's packed with templates, worksheets, and checklists that will help you plan out your show from beginning to end. You don't need any experience or special equipment, just an idea and the drive to make it happen. With this planner, we want everyone who has ever wanted to start their own podcast but didn't know where to begin. We want every student in school today to learn about podcasts as they learn about other forms of media like TV shows and movies. And most importantly, we want teachers everywhere sharing their stories with students across the country through podcasts. Now is the perfect time for educators everywhere to get involved in this exciting new medium. Let us help guide you along the way. Click here now if you're ready to take control over your future by starting a podcast today.
With so much content wheezing around out there, there's only one storytelling platform that helps you keep calm and stay informed and inspired. Flipboard. Flipboard curates the world's stories so you can be smarter in your work, life, and play. Choose from thousands of topics to personalize Flipboard and get the best stories from the best publishers and experts delivered to you 24/7. Get started now at flipboard.com.
Welcome to Flip Tip. Flip Tips is brought to you by Terry Porter. Today's tip, tell a story with your Flipboard magazine title. Terry has published the following article on medium.com. Why a generic magazine title is not the best idea. So here's the question. What do you want your readers to get from your Flipboard magazine? You are collecting and curating items from a unique passion perspective. You have a story to tell. Your Flipboard magazine title should reflect that. You can find this article and many others flipped in our Flipboard EDU podcast magazine. Thank you, Terry, for that flip tip.
Subscribe to our Flipboard EDU podcast magazine.
Flipboard fam, thanks for sticking with me on this episode. I want to thank my main man, Josh Allen, for talking with us about Flipboard today. I want to give a huge shout out to Aileen Laylor and Crystal Vanderboom for the editorials on the Flipboard EDU podcast. Hey, remember to share and subscribe to our Flipboard EDU magazine on flipboard.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Flipboard podcast, The Art of Curation, with Mia Carangelo as well. You can also follow this podcast on all major stations. Don't forget to share our podcast with an educator or colleague. Our podcast is available globally and everywhere you listen to podcasts. So until next time, family,